Okay, so we move into our next session until 11:50 approximately. This is about an expert insight. We have Microsoft with us, and it's about the reimagining finance to drive corporate performance in a digital age. Our experts today, our speakers today are Jaime Gálviz, the COO, Business Marketing and Operations Director for Microsoft Gulf, and Mr. Marc Reguera, Finance Director, Worldwide Enterprise and Partner Group, Microsoft Corporation. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Welcome to everybody. Ahlan wa sahlan fikum. It's my pleasure to be with Marc, which is one of our worldwide finance director here. As we acknowledge, and I've seen the content of the agenda, which I love it, about all the challenges that we're facing in the world with economic shift, demographic shifts, a lot of business disruption from all over the place all the time, and the huge amount of information that is coming to us internally from our own companies, but also externally. Today, only 3% of the worldwide information is really tagged, which means we can work with that. But in few years, less than 4 years, 33% of the world information will be tagged, which means the amount of information that we're going to have in the world is going to go very big. But here as Microsoft, we have two options. Go with a PPT and power slides, or do demos. And I think you'd rather to see demos. So with Marc, we have set up like 9 demos.
That's right, no slides.
9, no slides. So we're going to go with demos to show you how technology can help you to be able to manage many of the different challenges that you have, leverage all the information that is inside, outside, and be able to take decisions for you much faster, to be able to understand where to invest, how to invest, where to accelerate, how to drive growth, and how to take much faster decisions. So Marc, let's start with something personal, because at the end, taking decision is you do it for life and you do it also for work. But let's start for life. Every time you fly, I know it's your first time here in the Middle East.
That's right.
So every time you fly to a new place, you always try to search in the social, in internet, in different places, things about the place that you're going. So you're coming to Middle East, what things do you search?
Well, usually I want to know more about a country. I go and I look at, for example, population. So I would like to have this data, instead of a table, do things with it. So I can copy this link, Control-C, very easy. I can open Excel, and I can open this tool that is part of 2013 and 365 called Power Query. And I can just connect to this page from Excel. So it's going to go, it's going to look for it, and here it's going to show me a preview. Do I want this table? What you're doing here from Excel is building a permanent connection to that page. So if you refresh your Excel in 3 weeks, if the page change, you will capture that. But it does a lot more, Jaime. So for example, the internet is never perfect. You see I want to bring this row up, and I want to get rid of some of the columns. So I can highlight the entire columns, and I can just do remove, right click, remove columns. You see here this part applied steps? I'm actually building a macro without knowing it. So every time I refresh, it's going to shape the data the way I want. Problem here, you know what's the problem? Numbers on the left side on the cell, that's text format.
So the format is not...
It's not very useful for a number to be text. All I can do, right click, change type to decimal. Here, I have, every time it gets the data, it will do that. I'm going to get rid of this column, and then I have my data. So I can close and bring this up in my page. And what it means when you bring it in Excel is that you can now mash it up with any data you have. So if I had this to my data model, I have in Excel Power Pivot, which is like Access in Excel. Mm-hmm. I call it SQL in Excel for technical dummies. But you can now join this table with any internal data you have. So if you have real estate investment, anything you want to match with public data, you can do it in Excel very easily. But we're going to do more. I want to visualize this data. I can look at it in 2-dimension or 3-dimension. So I show, you get that on internet with Power Query. Yep. You mash it up with Power Pivot. Mm-hmm. You can look at it in 2-dimension with Power View, or you can look at it with Power Map. So Power Map is a 3D visualization tool This is Excel.
So we are still in Excel.
We are always in Excel here.
Okay.
So it maps automatically the cities and the regions. And we're going to do next, I'm going to try not to give you a headache when I zoom. What did we say? This was the population.
Yeah.
It's hard to see around, right? So let's do maybe a flat map. Maybe we can orient it. And if you are bad in geography, it's okay. You can put map labels. And here you can see quickly, you know, the populations in Egypt versus this. Now, I can add a little scene. Well, maybe not today. But you can zoom in at a very low level and be able to see things in a way that is super useful. So if I want to go and drill down to where we are right now, I can just go. And by the way, this is touch enabled. So with my finger on my laptop, as you can see on my surface, I'm zooming in, I'm zooming in, I'm zooming in Abu Dhabi. And if I want to see things in a different perspective, I can zoom in at a very low level. So if you have latitude and longitude data, you can go as low as you want. And then we can zoom out as well, like, I don't know, this is like the matrix. So you can also put a little story together.
So what do you mean a story? So to tell about where you have been, how you've been doing?
Exactly. So it was my first time, and you can put little scenes here that you can just join. And so I was in Paris over the weekend, so I wanted to show so I can put the scenes and play the tour. So I took I'm going to walk here. I took the airplane in Charles de Gaulle, which is in Paris. Then I flew, this is Excel, huh? All the way to Dubai. By the way, that's the heights of the buildings. And you can see from these angles, the buildings that are more than 300 meters. And then I can show the road I took and where I stopped, because the first thing I wanted to see when I came, well, I'm not going to fall to Dubai, is I can zoom in and go and see where I want to go here and see some of the buildings, you know, that we have seen forever, and we can take a look at it from this perspective.
So this is amazing, because you just went to internet, public information, took it to Excel, you formatted, you came in, add your own data, play with that, visualize in a way that is easy for everybody and is natural to interact with it, and then do a presentation that you can share with the people to tell a story about business trends, performance, where the thing is going to happen, everything.
I had no data. I built a parent connection, and I built a story in 2 or 3 minutes.
So this is lovely from a personal angle, and I can see some of these things. But you know, when you meet a CFO or a CEO, they can talk about a few things, right? Investments, organization restructures, forecast, P&L. So let's go to something
money.
Common for us.
Money.
Let's do something business-wise.
So I'm a finance guy. I have to start with Excel. And the way we work at Microsoft, we have data in big warehouse that we tap into using Active Directory in terms of security. Security is paramount to everything we do.
Yeah.
So we have a pull out of data. This is typical data. We have licensing information, segment information, actual budget, forecast, product. And I did a little bit of a mapping tables to group things in my own way. And I built a para pivot. So my para pivot here, I have so many things open sometimes. It's right here. And I'm going to load the para pivot in SharePoint. Why in SharePoint? Because it's going to do 2 things. I'm going to be able to put security around this, and I'm going to be able to connect my PowerPoint to this. So you guys do a lot of your reviews, I assume, with PowerPoint. I spent 18 years copying and pasting. In the last 2 years, I don't have to, because half of the job of a CFO is doing that, unfortunately.
And every time we want to see in a different way, you have to
copy and paste. So here, you have your data in SharePoint with the workbook, and I click this thing, create Power View report. I'm going to build it from scratch, because I really want to show you that any of you can do it, that it's a design challenge. It's not a technical challenge. And it's going to come. This is all through the internet. So
I remember in the old time, you have the IT people who create all these models in a server in the backend nobody sees. They buy expensive visualization tools, and then they train the users to use it. But you never can build the models. You always rely on IT.
That's right.
So what you're doing today is building those models in Excel, which everybody uses.
That's right.
Which has a lot of power of visualization. And instead of being an IT person, you have to make IT work on the data, and yourself work on the way you're going to visualize the information. Is
That's
that
right. That's
more or
right.
less the change, right?
For me, the test of a solution is how easy it is to make a change. Because you can have the most amazing report. If every time you want to add something new, it takes 6 months of development and $500,000, that's an issue. So this is my sandbox. On the right, we have the 4 tabs. You saw them, my data. I have a filter, something that looks like Excel/PowerPoint. So I'm going to go from data to PowerPoint in just a few minutes. So we're going to click actual. You want actuals, right?
Yeah.
You want to know your target budget, right?
Yeah.
And we have acronyms. VTB stands for variance to budget.
Country.
And then we're going to select a certain area, and we're going to select a certain fiscal year. So all those things is click, drag, and drop. It's going to be hard to see, but when I'll make it big, it will be easy. So this is around $1 billion. We can put a title on this. So here, and I'm going to call this financial summary. Now I'm going to put actuals maybe by sub-region.
Yeah.
So I didn't put the real countries. I put the antique countries. We have a country called Judgment. That's a finance country. I can put it out. That's usually the most accurate one. So here, we have a few visualization options. I believe it's an opinion. You need 10 to 12 graphs to do good visuals. We can look at things in columns. We can sort it in descending order. We can put labels. And so quickly, you see, Jaime, which are the biggest country that form your $1 billion. You know, the most important technical skill for a finance guy is Control-C, Control-V, and that's enable. So we can change the metrics to variance to budget. I think some people in the audience can relate to that because we do that a lot. And then I'm going to do 2, 3 things. You know, a lot of times people want to see different things like the trend over time. So I'm going to do, what do you want to see by quarter?
Yeah.
We're going to put the trend by quarter. So this is just about, it's a design challenge. It's knowing the metrics that you want and how you want to see. It's not about a technical challenge. And then the last thing I'm going to do, we're going to look at your performance against budget by a couple of dimensions. We're going to look at it by licensing, so we can know how well you're doing for existing customers versus new customers, because I think that's important, right?
Anything about products you have?
Yes, and obviously by product. So Control-C, Control-V, and I'm going to take out pricing level, and then our products' names are weird. We have something called BG2, and product detail means rev sum division. So I'm sure you guys have all your own acronyms, but you can see these are really from a database. And I see a couple of zeros that I can hide. So here, in literally a few minutes, I was able to build a view. And now, Jaime, I can go and we can present.
Can I play a little bit with that?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, do you want to do it or you want to ask me questions?
No, I want to ask you questions because that's the way we always do, right? CEOs ask questions to CFOs and CFO has
so
to
just
respond,
before you do, I'll give an overview of what it is. This is a region, $1 billion, 957 budget, 23 million is the advance to budget, 2%. Distribution of billion, top country, Byzantium. I use fake names because Carthage, antique names. A lot of the revenue in Q4. Performance to budget is 23 million. I better not fall. Top country is Carthage, 11. Mesopotamia is not doing well. The variance to budget by licensing, existing new customer, and by product. So what do you want to know?
The first thing you always do is look into the ones who are doing really well or the ones who are doing really bad.
Well, let's start with the good stuff.
Okay, let's go with the good ones.
So you want to know more about the top performers?
Why
right?
they're doing well? Is there some bagging in the budget or what was the story?
So usually when that comes in a meeting, you go to Appendix 57 and try to find the right slide, or some people are flipping pivot tables. All you have to do here is click, and you can see the detail of the top performer. So what do you see there? Is that good?
Well, I see that the revenue is coming more from recurring and renewals, which is existing customers, but the new is going down. So he's below.
So you want to know more about new?
Yeah, of course. I want to understand why.
So here all you have to do is second click. And when you click on new, what do you see? On the top right, I think.
Oh, yeah. What I see is that they are the worst against new.
So the top performer here is the worst in new business. You know, at Microsoft, we call this a watermelon. It's green on the outside, but it's red on the inside. I don't know if you have those. Now, I think we have these business reviews that are evolving at Microsoft, from me giving a lecture to Jaime's leadership team for hours on tables, static pages, to a dynamic conversation where we can brainstorm and go to places we may not know beforehand.
Yeah,
and that's a change in the cultural...
The problem is now I want to go to more information, and maybe I want to...
Product, maybe?
Yeah, and maybe I want to...
So we can pop it out. And I'm sure nobody knows what MOD is.
So what is between MOD that is doing well?
So we can double click and we can see all the products. And we can keep clicking on why Office is doing well. And we can see by quarter. So what happens is that here, I build a hierarchy and I can drill through all the way from a country to a customer if I put the data in the chart. So here I have a quarter view. I can pop it up to RevSum division. I can pop it up to BG2, and I can bring it back.
Good. That's lovely. Can I put that in something that I can present?
Like PowerPoint? Okay,
Yeah,
it's very hard. File, export to PowerPoint. First, I save in SharePoint the view I just created. So we're going to call this Jaime. So I'm sure it's for you. And then I'm going to now save the PowerPoint slide that is going to be permanently connected to this view. So I'm going to save this on my desktop the same way. And when I do that, all you have to do is attach it to your desktop. So we're saving now the PowerPoint slide. I think we should open it, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I think I put it on my desktop, computer, desktop, Jaime. Okay, so you guys recognize the slide? So we're going to go in presentation mode. The software doesn't go dark. It's the projector that goes from duplicate to extend. I just want to make sure.
It's not the surface that is not working well. Yeah.
No. So here, it's actually going to connect. So I'm going to the network, to Microsoft intranet. So you have security through SharePoint. If you don't have access to it, this won't work. So this is very important. The reason why we put it in SharePoint is because it enables security. Where are we now? 100%?
So it also means that if I am the Mesopotamia country manager, maybe I will only be able to see Mesopotamia data and not the others, right?
That will be when we scale to a tabular model. This is SharePoint security.
We can do that part
You see here on the bottom right, there's something called interact, right on the bottom right. If I click here, I'm going to be able to interact with this in PowerPoint as if I were in SharePoint. So again, I'm here, it's coming, I can open the filter, I can close it, and I can interact with it as if I were in SharePoint. So this is, they call it the magic PowerPoint. And so I send my reports in July. Here, if I want to put a static slide, it's easy. Home, new slide.
So I can just work with PowerPoint, have these dynamics views with the same power. The only thing that I will need here is what? To have Office 365.
Yeah.
To be able to have on-premise, leverage a little bit part of the SharePoint with the security and everything.
Exactly.
And that's it.
So what I do, my reports, I send him in July. He save it on his back end. In August, I don't send any email. He opens it. He goes to the SharePoint. Forward this to somebody who doesn't have access. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it gets better.
So how now I can have it send it to my people. But if I want to make it, let's say, an organization available to many people, how do I do that?
IT came to us and said, let us scale this to a cube or a tabular model and deploy it to 1,000 finance people. So this is the holy grail for revenue at Microsoft. It has 500 million data points with the built-in formulas that all of us do manually connected to the standard corporate BI, and I cannot show it to you. But on the left, this is the standard views that all of us do. If I'm the Chile CFO you were alluding earlier, I will only see Chile data because the security is it's deeper than SharePoint folder. It's actually through Active Directory with user level security. So you create a report for the world, send it to everybody. Each person will be able to see what they're entitled to based on Active Directory. You have a question, I'm giving you the entire sandbox that is managed by IT on the right, where you can create your own views from the one version of the truth managed by IT.
So IT helped me with this part, structure the data, put the infrastructure to allow the users access to whatever they want and whatever they need, and they can with a security way. I just have to create the visualization and share it with them.
That's right. And so the key here is that you have 3 ways you can do Power View. You can do it natively in Excel. So this is the same view. This is Excel. Power View is Excel 2013. It's great. But if I send you this, it's a big file and it's unsecure. Step 2, I put it in SharePoint, connect to PowerPoint, great security folder, but I still have to refresh it and I have to manage my security. Step 3, IT takes it and scales it to the entire world.
I have one question. If I am going a trip, for instance, I'm going to Qatar or I'm going to Saudi, and I want to have these reports on my phone, because you're putting in a website, I have direct access to my phone, which is certified by IT. I can access the same information in a phone, in any browser.
You will with information in the cloud, with Power BI. So this is on-premise.
So we can go also to the cloud later. Oh, good. I love to see also that. Can we do that later?
We're going to do it.
Good.
But first, I think we should show a little bit of the bling bling. Is that a word that is, no, it's not.
It's not
the fancy, the advanced data visualization.
So how can I play with information and visualize in a more
this is data from the World Bank. So on one side you have GDP and GDP per capita. North America in 1981 was $4 trillion, $15,000 per capita. And then you have the size of the bubble is the population. Now you can do 82, 83, 84. You see North America, Europe, and Asia are growing the GDP up to 10 trillion, while the others are barely breaking to 2 trillion. So the Middle East is still in the back here. And then things are growing. The Middle East is growing to almost 4 trillion. We saw the 2009 crisis. So here, very quickly, you can see the trends and the patterns. Now, you're in Gulf. You probably want to know more about Middle East, right?
I want to see the
Well, all you have to
purple.
do, I put the country in the back. You can click one on the bubble to see the pattern, or you can double click on it. And so now we have all the, I have to click faster, double click. Wow, I have a clicking problem. I think I need training. There we go. And now we have the story of all the countries in the Middle East where it was all pretty stagnant. And then in the 90s, we see Turkey and Saudi Arabia going over almost 0.3, and you have UAE growing, and GDP per capita. We saw the 2009 crisis. So very quickly, you can see that. So here, you only see 3 or 4, but you want more. I know how demanding you are with the metrics, right?
Yeah, I want to see a little bit about this data.
So this, we can put a lot of metrics, like the cell phones per 100 broadband users. So why don't we go to maybe the Middle East?
Yeah.
And we can see.
In the competitiveness report, all the Middle East did very well, and it was released in September. And many of the data was given by the enormous support of the government, but all the technology that is being involved in modernization and access.
So here we have the population going to 300 million. There's almost 1 phone per person. That means 300 million cell phones, 40% internet penetration, 6% broadband, which means 20 million users. And GDP has basically tripled in the last 10 years from 1 to 3 trillion, and the GDP per capita has been around 10K. We can drill into any country.
Can I see one?
Yeah, which country you want to see?
Well, we are in UAE. Let's see UAE.
Okay, so we can zoom in. I have a red thing here. Sometimes I get these errors, but we can move on. And so this is the bubble of UAE.
That's the problem when I start asking too many things, right?
Look at UAE. You guys have so many phones here. 180 cell phones per 100. So you have 9 million people, 15 million cell phones. Huge amount.
We're going to have more than 2 phones per person soon.
Very soon. Very high internet penetration, 90%, 12% broadband, and the GDP is almost at 0.4 trillion. So here, this is all interactive dynamic. If you want to go to any other country, this is Excel. You can go to, I know you are from, you can go to any country, Africa, you can zoom in and out and everything will change.
So again, this data came from outside, public data.
Yeah.
You bring it, you create things, and you just visualizing with Excel.
Yeah. So now, you want to ask me more questions.
Yeah.
So I can put this data in Excel in the cloud and use amazing features such as natural language to answer your questions.
So if I want to answer one question, I can get immediately the answer about only that part?
Yes.
Without going to reports and looking into information?
I took the entire World Bank database and put it in a Power Pivot. So we do sum of GDP by year as line, I have to type, you have to know how to type, as line chart.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to see a country? Because I want to make sure this is tested.
Any country? Middle East.
For India?
India, let's go India.
What country you want to compare India to? Versus Oman?
Different is going to go in there.
Well, the scale is very different, but let's do GDP per capita. I think it's going to be a different story, right? Very opposite. So Oman has an average 25K, and India 3K GDP per capita because of the scale of India.
The population,
The
yeah.
population. Now, at my fingertips, I have every metric from the World Bank that I can simply ask questions. People sometimes think I'm smart. I'm not smart. I just know where the information is, and I can type it and get the answer right away. It's called Q&A. So what am I showing here is basically Power BI. It's an extension to Office 365, and it's basically SharePoint in the cloud. You can consume things through a browser, or you can ask questions by simply doing questions and answers. And this is a typical CFO, and you know, sometimes things get slow because well, there we go. So Jaime will come to me, and the first thing he would want to know at the end of a month is revenue, right?
Yeah.
So we're going
What
to
was the
do
revenue?
sum of actual revenue. So that's a field in my data. Maybe by customer name.
Yeah, the top I want to see.
So these are, I can't show you the real customers. I took customers from the internet. So the top customer, when enterprise, you want to know more about it. So we do sum of, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do sum of actual revenue, and I have to sum of actual revenue by for when enterprise. You wanted to know that one, right?
Yes.
So that's around 15 million, maybe by quarter, and
That's one.
as line chart. So you can pick what you want, what dimension, and how you want to see
And
it.
then I can start interacting with that.
Yes.
As we have done it in the other.
Yeah. So by the way, when you click, a lot of this is going to be HTML5 compliant.
So that's when I can take it to my
my
phone,
phone,
to any
exactly.
device whenever I'm at.
So here I'm going to HTML5. That, well, sometimes it goes, sometimes it doesn't, so we're going to do it again. You can see this is part of being live with the internet. You know it's a real demo.
But it's fine. But so you bring the data from inside, outside. You put it in a website. You get the certification and the access for security, which is very important.
That's right.
Every user can access. It doesn't matter if it's in a Surface, in a PC, in a
That's
mobile,
right.
in a tablet, in a phone, and they can have access in an interactive way to real data, and
That's
they can
right.
even ask specific questions and get the answer.
That's right.
That's when you're mixing kind of the power of Excel, which is huge, what I have seen today, plus the cloud,
That's
the power
right.
of cloud at
The
the same
cloud
time.
extends the capability of your data with things like this. So if you explore the data, this is, on this axis, the unemployment in Europe. Macedonia is high, Norway is low, and this is the GDP in Europe, going all the way to 20 trillion. You want to see any country? I don't know, Greece, you click the bar, you drag it.
Can I compare it again? Or
Yeah, maybe we do, I don't know,
Portugal?
Portugal, we
Hello.
drag and drop. Now we want to know where these guys are going. We can get here and extend a little bit, and we're doing a forecast. So this is using a very sophisticated moving average type of forecast. It's not a regression, but it's like a stock calculations. So if you have a non-annuity recurring cyclical business, it's very useful to know where you're going. Now, so again, this is an Excel workbook that we drag, but in the cloud, you can do much more natural language and use other. By the way, if you don't like this chart, you have the capability to change it and put other things like this. So you have a lot of options in the cloud. Now, sometimes Jaime wants one chart. This
Yeah.
is GDP,
You want to mix them both.
Germany, top, and this is unemployment. All you have to do is you go abracadabra, and then it's one chart. That's all you have to do. You drag and drop, and on one side you have GDP, on the other unemployment. You want to undo it? Gets tricky. So you have to shake it sideways, and
You have to check it.
I don't know if I have, it's not, there we go, and it undoes it.
Okay.
So we show a lot of things today, and I just want to give you a summary. You can get that on the internet with Power Query, mash it up with Power Pivot, and consume it through Excel with Power View in 2-dimension and Power Map in 3-dimension. You put it in SharePoint, or IT scales it to a cube in hours. Now you have thousands of people who can consume through PowerPoint. You bring it in the cloud, do natural language,
Very
drag
well.
and drop, forecast, and you can do all of that through a browser on any device. All of this, except Power Pivot, is new in the last 2 years.
There's something I have to ask you before we go. We start with something about personal. And Roberto, who introduced us, tells us he used to live in Madrid, and he was a Real Madrid fan.
Good for him.
Here in Middle East, we are one of the largest regions with biggest fans in Real Madrid and also Barcelona. And the game is happening now on Saturday at 9 p.m. Dubai time. And I know by heart because I'm a Real Madrid. You and I share that
right.
passion. How can we kind of predict or know a little bit about what's going to happen in that game? Is there a way to do it?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to predict, but I'm going to show you Real Madrid's performance with Paramap historically. So, and I'll ask you to press this button play here. I'm going to put you to work.
Okay,
when you're done on the top left, you'll click. I have to introduce first.
Okay.
So, this is the games Real Madrid play as a visitor in La Liga 2 years ago, not last year, the year before. The height of the bar is the attendance. Lots of people in Sevilla, in Barcelona, and the color is the result. Red they lost, green they tie, green they won, yellow they tie. So loss, victory, tie. Go and press play.
Thanks, guys.
So we are in July. They lose in Atletico, they lose in Sevilla, but they win in Valencia. Now we're in December, in Marbella, in Granada, they lose, but they're in La Coruña. And so you can see, this is all Excel. In minutes you can do this. And I wanted to kind of where the stadiums are, so I put the bars with latitude and longitude above the stadium. Sevilla, there's two teams, Betis and Sevilla FC. And so if you zoom in and go to the Sevilla FC, you go over the Sanchez Pizjuan, which is the stadium downtown. And it's a beautiful stadium, you have a view of the stadium. Then we fly to the northwest, my family lives near there, La Coruña, beautiful stadium, right on the beach. And you can drill down right next to the El Riazor. And obviously, if you talk about a game, you got to show Nou Camp.
Yeah.
And so in Barcelona, there's two teams. There's the Espanyol and Nou Camp. So I look at this. I think all of you are going to see a pattern, right?
Yeah.
Do Real lose in the south, win in the central west, and ties in the northeast? So I took 80 years worth of data. A cumulative white bubble is cumulative loss. A white bubble is cumulative loss. A green bubble is cumulative victories. And we start in the 30s, and we see Real losing in Valencia, losing in Bilbao. In the 50s, they basically lose everywhere. And then we're starting in the 60s, they win, I think it's Granada, they win in La Coruña. So we're going to go through 80 years worth of data for Real Madrid as a visitor, and you're going to see that basically this is Levante and Valencia, this is Espanyol and Barcelona, this is Betis and Sevilla FC. After 80, 90 years worth of data, last year they lost in the south, usually they win in Almeria and Granada. And 2 years ago, they won in the Northwest. Usually, they lose against La Coruña and Vigo. And unfortunately, for us, there's a big bubble in Barcelona. They tend to lose there.
But the game is?
In Real this year.
In Madrid.
Sundays in Madrid. So I hope you got to... I have zero technical skills. I don't know VB. I don't know SQL. What has transformed my job in the last 2 years, the ability for people like me to do things with data we could not even imagine. We talk a lot about big data, but people want information. And what's important, how are you going to transform data to information? The analysts, like me, we're not technical. What has really transformed and revolutionized the industry is the self-service BI revolution is enabling people like me to do things we couldn't even dream of. These things like that would cost a lot of money. Now I can play with it and have an amazing relationship with IT now because IT enables me and IT scales me versus me always fighting with them. When you wanted a report, I had to go to IT, we needed time and money, and then when you wanted something new, it never stopped. Now I can build it, give it to IT, they scale.
Yeah.
We are over our time. We have a session afterwards where we will explain to you what we did with our data to enable that. There's no BI without good data. We'll share with you in our session later on what we did to make sure the data had consistent taxonomy, hierarchy, and secure. I hope this was a good use of your time, and I'm sorry I went over with Jaime.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope, as I said, this gives you an idea about how technology can help us to tackle the challenge of managing many information outside, inside, enable to be able to take faster decisions and empower the organization to know where to invest, how to grow, and what type of decision to take in a better way. So let's see at 2:15, but thank you very much for the time zone.
Thank you.